All right, hello once again. This is Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College, and as part of the Rankin Technical College AWD 1000 Web Development Technologies class, I am creating a series of videos based on the Mozilla Developer Network's Learn Web Development series. As you can see, I'm in the Structuring the Web with HTML, Intro to HTML, and there are about 10 parts in here, and so far I've gone over Introduction, Getting Started, What's in the Head, Text Fundamentals rather, and creating hyperlinks. So now I'm into the advanced text formatting. Now there's a bunch of stuff in here. To be honest with you, most of the stuff that's in here I don't use. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. There isn't. But it says there are many other elements in HTML for formatting text that we didn't get to earlier. So, description list. Now, if you create a description list, okay, it's going to look like this. So if I were to create this, so let me just grab this, copy it to the clipboard, and let's see if this is what we get. I actually kind of like the fact that right here now we've got this click to see the date and the time. Don't really need that, but I kind of like it there. So I'm going to put what we're just about to do right here. So this is our data list that we're putting in right here. So let's just see if indeed that worked. And there it is. Oftentimes, about the only time I see this kind of thing used is if you're writing like a glossary, where this would be the term and this would be the definition. I very rarely, if ever, use DLs, etc. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with them. It just I don't typically see the reason or rationale for using them. Okay, so just so you know that the DL, all right, that's the definition. That's the definition. I don't remember what DL stands for. The DT is the definition term, and the DD is the definition. And I think this is called basically like a description list. So that's the DL. So description list, description term or data term, description definition or data definition. All right. So there's nothing wrong with using them, but again, I don't see really a reason for using these. So they're asking us to do that right here. And again, if we show the solution, you'll notice it's just a bunch of DLs. Now, the only thing that I would say about this, there's absolutely nothing wrong with the way they've done this. Nothing. But to me, if you're going to take the time to create something like this, and we'll remove this and we'll use the one that they used here. I think it should look like this. All right, so let's see. So something like that. Does not make this work any better, not a bit. All right, but it's much easier to see, oh, there's the DL. Oh, there's a term, there's a term, there's a term. Oh, there's a definition, etc. And it should look the way that we want it to look when we run this, I would sure think. So there it is. All right. So I'm going to remove that because I don't think we're going to need it for anything else. And save. I won't run this again yet, but let's just go on. Quotations. As it says, HTML has features for marking up quotations. The first one is block quote. Now, again, much easier to run it for you and then go back and decompose it. So, got this. It says, let's turn this into a block quote. So let's grab what they have here, copy it to the clipboard, throw it into our site. Again, I'm going to pretty it up just a tad. So site equals, where are you getting it from? There's the paragraph. And there's the end of, oops. There is the end of the, good golly. There is the end of the block quote. Probably would want to move this over and this over as well. All right. So what did that do? Well, let's take a look at it. All right. Here is the block quote right there. Now, when you start to use this stuff, so when you start to use quote and block quote, etc., I used to refer to this to my students. What used to happen when you did a block quote is it would center what you had right in the middle of the page. And I used to call this, for lack of better words, this was my term, you'll never find it in a book, the silly puttying of HTML. I don't know if any of you have ever seen silly putty. I'm so old that you don't know what it means, but I'm going to type in here silly putty. All right. And this is what it is. It's just some gunk. And you can, I remember as a little kid having silly putty and taking it and pressing it on my Sunday comics, which we used to get when we got a newspaper, and they were in color. Then you could take, would make an imprint on the silly putty of the comics, and then you could stretch it to make it look wider and or taller than it actually was. Well, what this has to do with anything is people started using block quotes for the wrong reason. They started using things like that would center something on a page just to center it. You don't want to do that. You should set up and only use tags in the way they were meant to be used. All right. So that's a block quote. Inline quotation, as it says, they work exactly the same way, except rather than block quote, they use the Q. All right. And again, they show an example. Citations. It says the content of the site attribute sounds useful, but unfortunately, most browsers, screen readers, etc. don't do much with it. There's no way to get the browser to display the contents of site without writing your own code to do so. So they show an example in here. So again, let's grab what they've got and see if indeed it works. So again, I'm going to get rid of what we had in here, put that in. I'm not even going to format it. I'm just going to leave it the way it was. Come back into here. And the quote element is intended for short, so it's got all the stuff in here, in other words. All right, you see there's even a hyperlink in here. So they are citing the Mozilla Developer Network here and here. Okay. And again, if you are, let's say that you're creating your own site and you love reading books, as an example, and when you're in there and you're reading your books, you also enjoy, posting your thoughts about them and maybe referring to what other people have said about the book, etc. Well, in that kind of a case, you might want to use something like these cite tags, these quotation tags, etc. That's why I'm saying there's absolutely nothing wrong with them, nor is there anything wrong with using them. I just don't. All right, then they've got another example. Let's just jump down to abbreviations. I kind of like these. It says another fairly common element that you'll meet when you use the web is the ABBR tag. So notice what's going to happen here is we put the abbreviation, it kind of looks almost the reverse, but we say what the abbreviation is used for in the title attribute, all right, of the ABBR tag. And then outside of that, we put this. So notice then that when I take my mouse and put it over the word HTML, it pops up like a little tooltip, or it's supposed to, that says, there you go, hypertext markup language, Rev for Reverend. So sometimes that can be a very nice little thing. you might want to occasionally put this type of thing in there. Earlier versions of HTML also included support for an acronym element, but as it says, it was removed and it's still there. So in our tag listing that we saw before, which I think I've removed, it's probably still shown. Let's see. So let's see if acronym is still shown in here. It is, but as you can see, this is one of those deprecated tags, and it says use ABBR instead. All right. Another simple exercise. Now there's something called an address tag that you can use. And notice what they have here. So let's grab this. And again, we will put it in. I just like to continue to show you this stuff. I think at least it works out better doing it this way. You may agree, you may not agree. All right. So I'm going to throw that up here. And let's change it to, how about, we'll put in here Jeff Scott Rankin Technical College. I'm not even sure how this is exactly going to display. 751 Parr Road, Wentzville, Missouri, 63385. So let's look at that. I may have to put line breaks after each one of these. Something tells me I will have to do that, but we'll see. All right, so what did it do to it? Basically, it looks like it italicized it, or it's like we put an M tag in here. But I do believe that if I put this back in here and put line breaks after each one, should work just fine. I don't know why it wouldn't. There you go. But it's giving some semantic meaning to the browser. It's allowing the browser to know that what you're working on here is you're working with an address. So again, there are reasons for using these things. Superscript and subscript, again, probably at least pretty self-evident as far as what's going on in here. So let's get rid of the address we just put in. And we've got a superscript and we've got a subscript in here. Let's take a look at both. Oops. Did I remove mine? Yes, I think I did. All right, so 25th, there's a superscript. It appears above the text. Chemical formulas, H2O for water, etc. There's a subscript. So super goes above, sub goes below, another super, etc. Okay. And again, the way that you use those as is shown in here. Sub for superscript, sub for subscript. Okay. Computer code, there's different ways that you can do this. Couple key things that are in here. First, this is the pretag, which means that the stuff, for lack of better words, has been pre-formatted. So in other words, this should look almost exactly like this. But since we're using code tag in here, the font will look markedly different. So let's copy this. Paste it, save. All right, run this again. And what you should notice is there's a difference in font type in what's in here and what's in there. All right. So typically you use the code tag, usually if you want to represent something like computer code. All right. But as it says, you shouldn't use things like code for paragraphs. But you can use the pre-tag, and this is what I want to show you here. So I'm going to leave that pre-tag that's in there right now. I'm going to just leave in the pre-tag. And I'm going to put in here, hello world, how are, whoops, you, okay? So you can see what that looks like, and I'm going to hit enter here. In fact, let's do a couple more things. Let's tab this over a little. Let's hit the space bar a bunch of times, hit the space bar again a few times, etc. So I'm going to leave it like that. I'm going to do a file save. I'm going to go in and I'm going to run this. And notice it threw it on the screen and it made it look just the same way. So what it's saying is, for lack of better words, it's kind of along the lines of, hey, we've already formatted it the way we want it to look. Okay, so let me go back here. We really don't need this, but so we'll remove it. All right, we're just about through another section in here. Marking up dates and times. So let's do this, and we'll put in today's date and today's time. Okay, because that'll be it for this particular section. So let me go and grab that and put it in here. All right, so this will be 2021. The month is 5. The day is 13. All right. And hopefully it's going to come out and look like this then. Let's see, time, date, time. So let's see, we've got in here, let's put in 13 May 2021. Don't know why I'm getting all this now, but getting close to lunchtime, and that's when I tend to get a lot of messages. All right. And you can see how it's formatted. All right. So not real much in this lesson that I think is real pertinent to what we're actually getting into in here. But we have now gone over the getting started, what's in ahead, the text elements, the creating hyperlinks, the advanced text formatting. So next we're going to go into the document and website structure. All right, so now we're actually going to go into this and how you would actually lay out a web page. This is where it gets interesting, fun, whatever you want to say, depending upon your point of view. So I'll be back with that in just a couple minutes.